Okay, class, so this is topic map video part 4. So you filled out your topic map, you've done your 2 free writes. I told you to put them away. Now's the time to bring them back out, take a look at them. You should have, if you did this by hand, you should have a highlighter. If you did this on the computer, then you probably want to do the same thing that I'm about to show you that I did. Okay, so I have my free writes. Okay, so I went through and I basically highlighted and sometimes commented upon things I found interesting in my free write. So, for instance, I'm looking at the one about vampires. I write, they say a lot about a culture. That's true. I mean, it seems to me that what we show vampires to be in the media says something about who we are as a culture. So I wrote this could be an interesting approach. Um, I thought that this idea was interesting. What does that say about our culture now? Which kind of ties in with the comment that I just made. And sexual mores at the time, so I guess the same could be said about our own time's view of vampires. And I say, so what do these stories mean? Sex is dangerous, sex can kill you, but it's fun while it's going on. What about the association between blood and sex and evil? Okay, so just kind of my mind tying these different ideas together. Let's see. Buffy the Vampire Slayer. In that case, demons, the vampires are just, take over. The demons kind of come into a person's body and just take them over. So it's not really the person. They have the person's memories, but it's not really that person at all, at least according to Buffy the Vampire Slayer. But the thing I found interesting about that was this show really emphasizes female power. How are females represented when it comes to vampires? It started me thinking about that. I'm thinking about all these vampire movies I've seen and vampire shows I've seen and how females are represented on those shows. What about the connection one can't help make between menstruation and female power and vampirism? So you can have all kinds of potential mythological connections. Might be fun to look into some mythology and see if I could find a connection among those three ideas. Okay, and then I highlighted, is the vampire a representation of human fears and concerns, or is there some actual real basis for vampirism? Um, let's see. So Um, does the vampire represent fears about sex and female power, or are there such things as vampires, beings that must live on human blood? So I guess I'm kind of going back and forth between. I mean, not that I don't actually think they exist. Part of me thinks, wow, the imaginative parts think, wow, what if they did, But then on the other hand, I think, well, it's more likely that they're a product of human fears, human concerns, especially even ancient ones. It might be interesting to see what each culture, a major culture, has thought about vampires over the centuries to see how this has changed. Thinking about vampire creatures or lore in Buddhist cultures, Muslim cultures. So I say yes, I would need to look into this if I were trying to say that the vampire is a cultural barometer. Yes, if I want to talk about the vampire representing culture, then I would need to look into these different cultural representations of vampires if in fact they exist in these other cultures. Let's see, Australian Aborigines before European incursion. What about Native American cultures? What about other indigenous cultures in South America? So I say I would need to look into this folklore to see if it contained references to vampires before they were influenced by Europeans. So your job is to highlight. Now try not to highlight lots of stuff, because if you end up highlighting too much, then you end up having more highlighted than not highlighted, and that's not going to help you very much. Your goal is to highlight the very most interesting pieces of information that stand out to you in your free write. And you can see my other example for UFOs, why people see them. That's really, I'll just read what I have here. So I'm not questioning if they exist or not. I'm saying that they do without trying to determine what they are exactly. I'm more interested in whether certain types of people see UFOs. So, nobody's going to be able to say, what are UFOs? Well, they are this or they are that. We can't know that, but we can study the people who see them, and we can think about, why do people see them. The person who is witnessing them is being given a message. Is that possible? Is this true? I would need to look into stories of encounters. That shouldn't be a question. But anyway, I would need to look into that. What were the nature of the encounters and what subsequently happened to these people? And then, of course, we hear about possible UFO stories in the Bible. Who were the people who wrote about these or saw them? What did these encounters or sightings seem to represent? And then I was thinking about UFOs represent. What do UFOs represent to the European culture of the Middle Ages? And I was thinking about how, I've seen paintings, I've seen wood carvings that feature UFOs. What did people who lived then think about them? I'm guessing that they had some sort of religious or superstitious significance, but I would have to look into that more to see what they actually thought. Do people who see them have some higher purpose? Again, I would have to look into the encounters to see what people said about them. Let's see. What about the people who see them? What about their brain activity, background, history of drug use, family history of mental illness, criminal activity, personality disorders, etc.? I'm sort of wondering if there's some kind of core characteristic that might tie all of these people together. So yes, what is the mental and emotional nature of people who see such things? I doubt that good records are kept of this because people don't want to talk about UFOs anyway. So they won't study them seriously, or they won't study the people who see them seriously. So, but it would be interesting if I could find information about that. Then I say, still thinking about people who see them, I guess it is indicative of the times that what I mean is that people nowadays aren't ridiculed as much as people used to be when they would see them. So I say, yes, what does it should be say? What does it say about our culture that society seems more accepting of people who see UFOs than it did even 20 years ago? So what does that mean? And then what do psychologists say versus religious leaders versus this should be medical doctors versus everyday people? Are there any job fields other than observing the night sky that would make one be more likely to have this experience? So in my comments, yes, these people might offer different perspectives of what these encounters mean and why they happen. I'm sure that somebody who's a religious leader would have a different perspective from a medical doctor as far as, their opinions about what they think is going on with the person who sees a UFO. And then I would need to look into this, but so far I would say no to the question that there are specific job fields that might make people more likely to have such an experience. But anyway, that's what you want to do. You want to go back through your free writes and you want to highlight the most interesting phrases or sentences. And then if you can, jot some notes in the margins to indicate kind of what you were thinking, why you think that's interesting. After you've done all of your highlighting, then I want you to go back through both of those, and I want you to figure out if you had to choose between the two of the topics, which topic would you choose to do your research over? So different factors might play a role in your decision. If I had to choose, I think both of these topics are pretty strong. Actually, I think it depends what I do with, it depends on what I do with them. I think really that's what it comes down to for any topic. You can do a lot with any topic if you know what to do with it. So it really depends on that. But so I could go with either one of these, but you will have to decide what you want to do. Okay, so if it turns out that one of your free writes doesn't seem to have very much interesting stuff in it, you might want to go with the other one. Okay, so it really depends. So your job right now is to figure out which topic do I want to do for my research paper.